The neon sign above the vinyl vault buzzed with a rhythmic snap hiss, throwing an angry red arc against the wet brick facade. Standing across the street, I flinched. That wasn't just the hum of old wiring. That was moisture intrusion hitting a live transformer. The glass tube was vibrating, the gas inside struggling to hold the charge against the damp air. One spark in this windstorm, and the dry rot in the fascia board would catch. Then the roof. Then the whole block. I wasn't wearing my badge today, but my body still did the math: flicker rate, arc temperature, fuel load. The building was a century of old wood and paper. A tinderbox waiting for an excuse. Thunder cracked directly overhead, a sound like a suspension bridge snapping, shaking the storefronts along Main Street. Then the sky opened up. It wasn't rain. It was a deluge, a curtain of freezing water dropping instantly as if the atmosphere had simply given up holding it. The lights in the record store flickered once, twice, and died. Total blackout. The neon sign gave one last, loud pop, a gunshot sound, and went dark. Then the front door flew open. Murphy Ortiz ran out onto the sidewalk. She looked up at the canvas awning, which was sagging dangerously under the sudden, massive weight of the trapped water. The aluminum frame groaned, metal shrieking against metal as the rivets strained. She grabbed a push broom from the display by the door, her movements frantic, and started trying to push the water up and off. The bracket above her head buckled. A steel bolt pinged off the pavement near her feet. She was pushing against gravity. She was going to break the frame. Or worse, the frame was going to break her. I crossed the street in 3 long strides, my boots splashing through the gutter that was already overflowing. "Murphy, stop!" She spun around, the broom handle slipping in her wet hands. She looked at me, squinting through the driving rain. Her hair was plastered to her face, her eyes wide with panic. "Ishaan? Give me the broom," I said. My voice dropped automatically into command mode, the tone I used on the fireground when seconds counted. Not shouting, just clear. Absolute. "The bracket is rusted. If you push up, the whole thing comes down on your head." She hesitated, her chest heaving. "It's going to rip." "The inventory in the window. Give me the broom." She handed it to me. I didn't push. I used the handle to hook the heavy metal edge of the frame and pulled gently down on the corner, creating a channel. A waterfall of trapped rainwater sluiced off the side, missing us by inches and splashing heavily onto the sidewalk. The awning groaned, relieved of the weight, and snapped back into tension. "Inside," I said. "Now." We retreated into the dark store. The air was cold and smelled of ozone from the storm, mixing with the distinct, heavy scent of old vinyl dust, cardboard, and PVC. It was pitch black, save for the gray, watery light filtering in from the street lamps outside. "You're back," she breathed, wiping water from her face. Her cardigan was soaked through, the wool heavy and dark against her white t-shirt. "I heard you made, Captain. Seattle, right?" "I did," I said. "I didn't mention why I left Seattle. I didn't mention the reason my truck was packed with boxes from my old apartment." I looked around the shop. The gloom hid the details, but my eyes adjusted. The store was a fire trap. Extension cords were daisy-chained across the floor, snake-like hazards waiting for a boot. Boxes of unsorted albums were stacked too high, leaning precariously, blocking the path to the rear exit. "Murphy, the power is out. Do you have emergency lights?" "The batteries died last month," she muttered, moving behind the counter to find a flashlight. The beam clicked on, cutting a dusty path through the dark. "I was going to replace them. It's on the list." "Give me the light," I said. She handed it to me. Her hand was shaking. I noticed it instantly, a fine, rapid tremor in her fingers. It wasn't just the cold. It was the vibration of a system running at critical capacity. I shone the light on the electrical panel in the back wall. It was old. A fuse box, not breakers. There were scorch marks on the drywall above it. "This building is a tinderbox," I said. The words came out sharper than I intended, but I couldn't soften the truth. Safety isn't polite. You're overloaded on at least 3 circuits. The egress paths are blocked. If a fire starts in here, You have 90 seconds to get out. And with this clutter, you'll need 3 minutes. That's a fatal math equation. Murphy stiffened. Hello to you too, Ishaan. Nice to see you. Yes, I know the store is old. I'm trying to fix it. I'm doing everything I can. Trying isn't code compliant, I said. You need a plan. You need a licensed electrician. I can't hire one, she snapped, crossing her arms defensively. Councilman Vance blocked my preservation grant. He says the building is structurally unsound. He sent an inspector last week with a condemnation notice. I have 30 days to bring it up to code, or they pull my occupancy permit. If I lose the permit, I lose the shop. If I lose the shop, I lose my dad's legacy. This is my only income. Ishaan, I don't have a pension or a city salary. Vance, I said, the name bitter. He wants the lot for the condo development next door. He's using the code to force you out. He knows I'm drowning, she whispered. I can't afford the repairs. I can't even afford the inspection fees to prove him wrong. I'm just waiting for the padlock. I looked at her. I looked at the rows of records. I remembered sitting on this floor when I was 15, hiding from the world, listening to her play The Clash. She had been the only bright thing in a gray town. Now she was shivering, trapped in a dark room that was trying to kill her business. I checked the time. My dad would be asleep. Nurse Elena was there until morning. I have tools in my truck, I said. She blinked in the flashlight beam. What? I'm certified for low-voltage systems and residential wiring, I said. I can't rewire the whole building tonight, but I can stabilize the panel so it doesn't arc when the power comes back. And I can fix the emergency lights. It'll get you through the storm. Why would you do that? She asked quietly. We haven't spoken since high school. You owe me nothing. Because I remember this place, I said, shining the light on a poster of David Bowie that hadn't moved in 20 years. And because you're shivering, I took off my heavy turnout coat. I held it out to her. Put this on, please. She hesitated, looking at the coat like it was a trap, then took it. It engulfed her, heavy and warm and smelling of wood smoke and rain. Hold the light, I said softly. I'll get my tools. The next morning, the rain had stopped, leaving the streets of Portland slick and gray. I returned to the vinyl vault at 8 a.m. I wasn't in uniform, just jeans and a flannel shirt, but I carried my clipboard and my tool bag. The craft-first soul in me needed to see the full extent of the damage in the daylight. The shop was empty. Murphy was behind the counter, staring at a laptop screen with a look of utter despair. Coffee, I said, placing a cardboard cup on the counter. Black. 2 sugars. That's how you used to drink it. She looked up, startled. The circles under her eyes were dark bruises. You remember my coffee order? I remember a lot of things, I said. How's the panel? It didn't explode when the power came back on at 4 a.m., she said, taking the cup with both hands. So that's a win. Thank you, Ishaan. Really? Don't thank me yet. I need to look at the basement. Her face fell. It's the foundation, I corrected. If Vance is claiming structural issues, that's where he's looking. Show me. We walked down the narrow wooden stairs. The air grew heavy and damp. The basement was a labyrinth of stacked crates, old furniture, and thousands of unsorted records. It was chaos. I walked the perimeter, shining my flashlight on the beams. I checked the moisture levels in the wood. I checked the load-bearing posts. The joists are fine, I said after 10 minutes. Old-growth Douglas fir, hard as rock. He is? Hope flickered in her voice, fragile. But, I continued, pointing to a pile of oily rags and cardboard near the furnace, this is a violation. Class A combustibles within 3 feet of a heat source. And that, I pointed to the blocked rear door at the top of the stairs. That is a blocked egress. If you have a fire down here, the smoke fills the stairwell in 30 seconds. You're trapped. Murphy rubbed her temples. I just don't have the space, Ishaan. I have too much inventory and nowhere to put it. My dad. Then we make space, I said. We triage? I have 3 weeks of leave before I start my rotation at the local battalion, I said. I need something to do with my hands. Sitting still makes me restless. Ishaan, I can't pay you. I really can't. I don't want money, I said. I picked up a crate of records. It was heavy. It felt good to hold something tangible, something manageable. I want to make sure this place doesn't burn down. Call it professional courtesy. Just then, the front door chimed. Heavy footsteps echoed on the floorboards above. Miss Ortiz! A voice boomed. Murphy flinched. It's Vance. I saw the change in her instantly. Her shoulders went up. Her face closed off. She looked like a cornered animal. Let's go upstairs, I said. We walked up. Councilman Vance was standing in the middle of the shop, flanked by a man with a clipboard, the city inspector. Vance was wearing a suit that was too shiny for a rainy Tuesday, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Murphy, Vance said, spreading his hands. We were just in the neighborhood. Thought we'd check on that compliance list. We had a report of a power failure last night. Potential electrical instability. That accelerates the timeline. Imminent hazard clause. The power failed because of the storm, Murphy argued, her voice tight. The whole block went out, but your sign sparked, Vance said, his eyes gleaming. Several witnesses saw it. If the wiring is faulty, we have to shut you down. For your own safety. Of course. He was enjoying this. He was using the code as a weapon. I came out of the back hallway and planted myself between them and Murphy, quiet, immovable. The wiring is stable, I said. Vance turned, surprised. And who might you be? Ishaan Robinson, I said. Fire Captain, District 4. Vance's smile faltered for a microsecond. Captain, I didn't know you were moonlighting. I'm visiting, I said. I inspected the panel last night. The arc was from the external transformer on the pole, not the internal wiring. The panel is fused correctly. There is no imminent hazard. I lied. The sign had sparked, but I had disconnected it last night and capped the line. I see, Vance said, narrowing his eyes. Well, Captain, unless you've signed off on a formal inspection, your opinion is just anecdotal. We'll be back in 2 weeks for the final walkthrough. If the egress paths aren't clear and the fire suppression system isn't updated, the padlock goes on the door. He looked at Murphy. Think about my offer, Murphy. The land value is high. You could walk away with a nice cushion. Start over somewhere. Easier. They left. The silence they left behind was heavy. Murphy stared at the door. He wants the land, she whispered. He's fast-tracking a condo development. He needs my lot to complete the parcel. He's using the fire code to bully you, I said. The anger was a cold, hard knot in my stomach. I hate bullies. I can't fight him, Ishaan. He's the council. He controls the inspectors. He controls the bureaucracy, I corrected. He doesn't control the code. The code is black and white. If you are compliant, he can't touch you. It's physics. It's law. I can't clear this place in 2 weeks, she said, looking around the cluttered shop. It's impossible. It's not impossible, I said. It's just work. For the next 2 weeks, I functioned in 2 worlds. During the days, I spent hours with my father. I cooked for him. I sat with him while he watched old westerns. Dad stared at the spoon like it was a complex tool he'd never seen before. When it clinked against the bowl, he flinched like the sound hurt him, and I tightened my grip on the table edge until my knuckles went white, forcing myself not to look away. In the evenings, I went to the vinyl vault. The shop was different. At the shop, the physical drag of a crate against the floorboards quieted the static in my head. We triaged the hazards. Zone 1, I told Murphy on the first Tuesday. The entrance. We need 36 inches of clearance for ADA compliance and egress. We moved boxes. We built shelves. Murphy played music while we worked The Clash, Fleetwood Mac, obscure jazz records I'd never heard of. One night, the inspector Vance had tried to get in the back door, claiming he needed to check the meter. I met him at the threshold, blocking the way with my shoulder. You need a warrant or an appointment for an off-hours inspection, I said. He left without a word. We established a ritual. At midnight, when the work was done, Murphy would kill the music. I would check the back exit, rattling the handle to ensure it was locked but not stuck. Then we would sit on the counter and share the last of the coffee from the thermos like it was a vow. One night, the rain was hammering against the glass. We were in the back room, sorting through the keep and donate piles to clear the exit path. Murphy was sitting on the floor, surrounded by a sea of album covers. She held one up, a copy of Purple Rain. "My dad bought this the day it came out," she said softly. "He played it until the grooves wore down. He loved this place," I said, testing the tension on a shelf bracket. "He loved the music," she corrected. "He was terrible at the business. He never threw anything away. And now," she gestured to the clutter, "now, I'm drowning in his value. I feel like I'm failing him every day the door stays locked." "We're making headway," I said. "Are we?" She looked up at me. Her eyes were wet. "Or are we just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic? Vance is going to find something, Ishaan. He always does. Maybe I should just sell. Maybe I'm holding on to a ghost." I put down my screwdriver. I walked over and sat on the floor opposite her. "You're not holding on to a ghost," I said. "You're holding on to a community. I saw Mrs. Gable come in yesterday. She didn't buy anything. But she talked to you for 20 minutes about her hip surgery. You listened to her. That matters. It doesn't pay the rent," she said bitterly. "It pays for something else," I said. She looked at my hands. They were scarred from years of fire service, small burns, nicks, calluses. "Your hands," she said. "They look like his. My dad's." "Working hands," I said. She reached out. She hesitated, then touched the back of my hand with her fingertips. Her skin was cool. My breath hitched in my throat. A sudden intake of air that had nothing to do with smoke inhalation. "You're a good man, Ishaan," she whispered. "Why are you single?" "You should have. Someone." "I'm married to the job," I said, the standard deflection. "And I'm specific. I like things in their place. People find it exhausting." "I don't find it exhausting," she said. "I find it steady." The moment hung there, fragile as spun glass. I wanted to turn my hand over. I wanted to interlace our fingers, but I pulled back. I had to finish the inspection. "We should finish this zone," I said, my voice rough. "2 more boxes." She pulled her hand back, a flash of hurt crossing her face. "Right. The mission." The work intensified. We were winning the battle against the clutter. The shop looked bigger, cleaner, but Vance was escalating. On a Friday night, I found Murphy in the alley behind the shop. It was pouring rain again. She was trying to load a heavy crate of damaged records into the dumpster. She was struggling, slipping on the wet pavement. "Let me," I said, stepping in. I lifted the crate easily and tossed it in. Murphy leaned against the brick wall, gasping for breath. She wasn't wearing a coat. She was shivering violently. "You need to go inside," I said. "You're freezing." "I'm fine," she snapped. "Stop telling me what to do, Ishaan. You're not my captain." "I'm your friend," I said. "And you're hypothermic?" "I'm not your friend," she shouted. The anger exploded out of nowhere. "I'm your charity case. That's what this is, isn't it? Poor Murphy, with her mess of a life. Let's fix her store so we can feel good about ourselves." I stood still. "That's not what this is." "Then what is it?" she demanded. Tears mixed with the rain on her face. "Because you come here, and you fix things, and you look at me with those sad eyes, but you never let me in. You never tell me about your dad. You never tell me why you came back, really. You just function." "I function because I have to," I said. "I dated a guy last year," she said, her voice breaking. "A lawyer. He said I was too much work. He said I came with too much baggage. That I was damaged goods because I couldn't let go of this place." The phrase hung in the damp air. Damaged goods. I stepped closer. I invaded her space. I didn't care about the rain. "He was an idiot," I said. "He was right," she whispered. "Look at me. I'm 39, single, broke, and fighting a losing battle for a pile of old plastic. I held my hands up, palms open, waiting for her nod. She looked at me, then gave a small, jerky nod. I took her face in my hands. Her skin was cold and wet. "Listen to me," I said, forcing her to look at me. "You're not goods. You're not inventory to be assessed and devalued. You're my person, if you want to be." She froze. "What?" "You're the structure," I said, fierce and low. "You are the foundation. You are the most resilient thing I know. And you're not my charity case. When I'm here, when I'm working with you, I don't hear the sirens. I don't worry about my dad forgetting me. I just feel home." She let out a sob. I pulled her into me. I wrapped my arms around her, shielding her from the rain, from Vance, from the world. She buried her face in my chest, holding onto my shirt like a lifeline. We stood there for a long time. I just held her. I didn't try to fix her. I just let her breathe. I wrote down 3 next moves in my head: storage unit, electrician quote, and a meeting request to the state fire marshal. The next day, the dynamic changed. We weren't just working, we were building. There was one major violation left. The back stairs lacked a continuous handrail. It was a steep drop to the basement. I spent Saturday measuring and cutting. I bought high-grade oak, not the cheap pine. I wanted it to last. Murphy painted while I sanded. We worked in a comfortable silence. "You know," she said, dipping her brush in red paint, "I used to have a crush on you in high school." I paused with a sandpaper. "You dated the quarterback?" "I dated the quarterback because he asked," she said. "I watched you because you were quiet. You seemed like you knew secrets about the world." "I knew how to wire a lamp," I said, smiling. "Exactly. Practical magic." I installed the handrail. It was solid, unshakable. I tested my weight on it. "Try it," I said. She walked up the stairs, running her hand along the smooth, red wood. "It feels safe." "Safety is romantic," I said, deadpan. "Nothing says I care like adhering to OSHA standards." She laughed. It was a bright, real sound. She leaned over the railing and kissed me on the cheek. It was brief, soft, and electric. "Thank you, Captain." Monday came. The deadline. I was at the fire station, filling out transfer paperwork from my dad's care facility, when my phone buzzed. It was Murphy. No text. Just a photo. A bright orange sticker plastered on the glass door of the vinyl vault. Notice of intent to condemn. Unsafe structure. I dropped the pen. I drove. When I got there, Murphy was sitting on the curb outside the locked door. She wasn't crying. She looked hollow. "They came while I was getting coffee," she said dully. "They changed the locks. Vance says the roof load is compromised. He has an engineer's report." I ripped the sticker off the glass. I read the fine print. "Structural deficiency. Imminent collapse risk." "The roof is fine," I said. "I checked the trusses myself. They're old-growth Douglas fir. They could hold a tank." "The report is signed by an engineer," she said. "A guy on Vance's payroll." "It's over." "Ishaan, they won." "It's not over," I said. "This is fraud." "It doesn't matter," she yelled, standing up. "He has the badge. He has the power. You can't fix this with a screwdriver." "I can fix it with the truth," I said. "No." She pushed me away. "Stop saving me. You're just going to leave anyway. You're going back to Seattle, or to another fire, and I'll be left with the wreckage. Just let it burn." "I won't let it burn." I raised my voice, matching her volume. "I'm not passing through, Murphy. I'm here. I came back for my dad, but I stayed for you." She stared at me. "I'm filing a counter report," I said. "I have standing. As a fire captain, my assessment of safety hazards carries legal weight, but I can't do it alone. I need you to fight with me. Can you do that?" She looked at the locked door. She looked at me. Then she nodded. "Okay," I said. "We need witnesses. We need allies." I spent the next 24 hours drafting the report. I didn't just write. I documented. I cited NFPA codes, IBC structural tables, and historical preservation statutes. I attached photos. I referenced the new load calculations based on the inventory reduction. It was a fortress of paperwork. Murphy mobilized the community. She called Mrs. Gable. She called my dad's nurse, Elena. She called every customer she had helped in the last 20 years. On Wednesday morning, we walked into the city council meeting. I wore my Class A uniform, dress blues, medals, the white cap. I looked like the law. Murphy wore her best dress, but she wore it like armor. The room was packed. Vance was at the head of the table, looking smug, but the back rows were filled with the neighborhood. Mrs. Gable was there. Nurse Elena was there, still wearing her scrubs. I walked to the podium. Murphy stood next to me. Captain Robinson, Vance said, surprised. This is a zoning hearing. I'm here to submit a formal safety assessment regarding 114 Main Street, I said, placing the thick file on the desk. The sound echoed in the room. We have an engineering report, Vance dismissed. You have a speculative draft from a paid consultant who never stepped foot inside the building, I said, my voice projecting to the back of the room. I checked the access logs. No inspector entered the premises. The crowd murmured. I am the fire captain for this district, I continued. I have personally inspected the property. It meets all current fire and structural codes relevant to its class. I leaned into the microphone. On matters of fire and life safety, my formal objection triggers a mandatory state-level review. And that review pauses all local enforcement actions until it is resolved. I've already filed the request with the state fire marshal. The building stays open until they say otherwise. Vance's face went pale. He looked at the file. He looked at the reporter in the front row, who was furiously typing. He knew he was cornered. If he pushed, the state would audit the whole development deal. We will review your findings, Vance muttered. The condemnation order is suspended, pending the state review. It was a win. A technical, bureaucratic, unsexy win. But it was a win. The reporter's follow-up ran Friday morning. By noon, the inspector stopped returning Vance's calls. I turned around. Murphy wasn't crying. She was smiling. She looked at the crowd, then at me. Thank you, she whispered. The review took weeks, but the store remained open. Vance backed off, realizing the fight wasn't worth the exposure. 2 nights later, I was at the store. We were celebrating with cheap wine in paper cups. The rain was drumming softly on the roof. The roof that I had proven was sound. You smell like smoke, Murphy said. I had come from a shift. Occupational hazard, I said. She walked over to me. You stayed. I told you I would. I'm sorry I yelled at you, she said. I was scared. I know. You fixed my roof, she said. You fixed my lights. You fixed my fight. I just held the ladder, I said. No, she shook her head. You held me. She stepped into my space. If you want to be here, Ishaan, I want you here. I looked at her. I held my hands up, palms open, waiting for her nod. I wrapped my arms around her waist. She leaned in. She kissed me brief, sure, and then we both exhaled like the storm had finally let go. 8 weeks later, the winter ice skating rink opened in the town square. I walked Murphy there. We were holding hands. Look, she said, pointing to the store across the square. The neon sign was bright and steady. No flickering. Nice sign, I said. Nice wiring, she countered. I have something for you, I said. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a key. It was a new key, cut for the heavy oak door of my cabin. I transferred to the local battalion permanently. Dad needs me, and I need my person. Murphy took the key. She closed her hand around it tight. Your person? She asked, smiling. Yeah, I said. You, my person. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I like the sound of that. It sounds secure? It is, I promised. We stood there in the cold, clear air, watching the skaters circle, anchored by the knowledge that no matter what storms came, the structure would hold. We spend so much time trying to be perfect, to present a facade that has no cracks. But the strongest structures aren't the ones that never break. They're the ones that have been reinforced. Love isn't about finding someone who is brand new. It's about finding someone who knows how to shore up your foundations when the storm comes. If you like this story, please like and subscribe so we can share more stories like this.